What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Latin Explaining with Denise, all about business and finances. And today, like it says in the title, we have a very special guest to close our series on Latin Explaining about the lie Latinos have believed. And you guys know in part one, part two, and part three, we have talked about how only 3% of Latinos are the representation we have in corporate America, even though we're 18% of the population in the United States. We have also covered how, if we're going to strengthen our community, we have to become the change we want to see in our community. Also, we have discussed the actual state of our people, their poverty levels, and their day to day lives, and how we have an opportunity to lift our community from the ground up. And today, we will discuss to close this series how our mindset is the starting point to the path of success for all of us. And to discuss it, I bring you guys a very special guest and therapist from the Emotional Health Services, Mr. Tim Delgado. For those who do not know him, welcome Tim to Latin Explaining with Denise. How are you doing today?
I'm good, good. How are you?
I'm really, really good.
Thank you for having me.
Now, thank you for joining in. He is my personal therapist and has helped me personally, me and my fiance in a big way. So I recommend him. If I had a third thumb, I will give you the third thumb, Tim. Now,
Thanks.
before we start today's interview, Tim, tell us a little bit about yourself and what it is that you do.
Yeah, so I'm a behavior specialist, and the main market that I work with is people who have anxiety, panic attacks, or depression. But I also do couples counseling because everything's connected. Everything goes hand in hand. So yeah, after a while, I started doing a lot of couples counseling. But yeah, that's my main market. What I studied for was anxiety, panic attacks, and depression. They're a certain part of the mental disorders. People who don't know, depression is considered a mental disorder. But
Definitely,
yeah, so
definitely.
so that's what I do, and in the last couple of years, I've been tapping more into the life coaching side too. People ask me, well, what's the difference with therapist and the life coaching side? Well, as a therapist working in a therapy field, the life coaching side, you have a bigger toolbox. You can use more tools. There's a lot of red tape around therapy, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah,
So
definitely.
yeah, so
So if we're going to define, because I feel like there's a lot of things that unfortunately are not known, not only in our community, but in the United States and the world in general when it comes to mental health. If you were to define mental health, how would you define it?
I mean, mental health. I also call it emotional health. It's like I feel like mental health is it's frowned upon a lot in this country. There are some countries where it's normal, but I feel mental health like anything else, like a doctor for physical health or a coach for working out. It's a muscle that needs to be worked out in a way. It needs to be developed. And I feel like the stronger mental health you have, the more you get to maneuver around reality, around life more. I feel like it's ignored a lot. In life, they prepare us for the fantasies with love songs and movies, but they never prepare us for real life situations. For example, when You go through a breakup when your mom or dad pass away. So I feel like mental health prepares you for real life situations, and it helps you see reality a little bit better. The closer you are to reality, the less you're going to get triggered by things, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, it's like, training your muscles, your mental muscles, to actually endure what's to come. um
Hmm.
Now I wanted to ask you also, in your experience as a Latino therapist, do you
Hmm.
believe that our community seeks therapy often, or you think usually we tend to sweep things under the rug a little bit? Like, what's your experience, your take? Like, the majority of us, with all the stigma and the misconceptions, do you think Latinos, our community, should seek therapy as, like, when they have things going on, and when they wanna, reach out to a professional to actually take care of their emotional situations, or when they're unwell?
Yeah, because I feel Latinos have this stigma. Like if you go to therapy, especially more the men, like if you go to therapy, you're considered crazy. You're not crazy. Why are you going to therapy? But I
Yeah.
feel like, yeah, they should seek more. There's nothing wrong with asking for help. And sometimes people go to friends to ask for help, but sometimes you need a little bit more than that because it's only one perspective. I feel like if you find a good therapist, they can really help you see reality in a way. I feel like that's what I do. I try to help people see reality more so they can maneuver around life better. So I feel like, yeah, I feel like Latinos, they frown upon therapy, but I feel like there's this new generation where they're more open to it. They're more open to therapy. I feel like it's changing now, and I
Yeah.
feel like for Latinos, the ones to thank is the women because they're the ones that drag the guys.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Speaking from my personal experience, I've seen past generations in my family and in our community in general that we're more like close to it.
Mhm,
And now I see us millennial moving a little bit more into seeking, because we have realized, hey, something is not right here. And we need
mhm,
to find a professional to help us put all of this together.
mhm,
And that's why we're being more drawn into taking care of our emotions and our mental health.
mhm,
um so I wanted to ask you, because I'm doing, as you're coming as a special guest to close this series that I've been doing to actually bring awareness and highlight the issues as
mhm,
to why many of us Latinos having so much to give and being so talented, like, why we're not necessarily taking advantage of all the things that we can bring to the table to actually move our community further and strengthen our community, not only financially but in many ways, even exchanging our culture, to be one that can be broadcasted to the world and we can actually get the benefits from it. But also I've noticed that, unfortunately, there's so many people that push back to this notion, without even noticing, and they're constantly in this loop of, not being able to move forward, and they're like stuck in that mentality, myself included at
mhm,
some point in my life. um, and it's like I said, we have been here for a very long time in the United
mhm,
States, yet we only are 3%, according to statistics, only 3% on the corporate America and entrepreneurs, even though we're 18% of the population. In your professional
mhm.
opinion, why do you think our mindset is not necessarily oriented to start this journey? Why you think we feel intimidated to actually pursue this stuff when we have so much to give?
Mhm. I mean, there's a lot of things that come into account. I feel to generalize Latinos first, I think one thing in the past that they had in common was religion or religions. And sometimes religions, the old style religions frowned upon money a lot, if that makes sense.
Yes,
So
yes.
so sometimes because I had one of my mentors, He has a book called How to Make a hell of a lot of money and still make it into heaven. He gave it a cheesy title, but I asked him, why did you title it that? He's like, because people still have certain programs from the old religions and they've
Yeah,
been passed down, that money's bad, money's evil, money is not the root of all happiness. And I'm not saying money is happiness, but I feel like money can give people more experiences and more options. The other side of it, I feel like it comes from we're used to, we also come from like generations of being workers after the Europeans came. So I'll give you a little example of this, even in my language, that I never noticed until I started dating a girl from Spain for a while. And in the Latino Mexican language, sometimes we use the word mande. Have you heard of the word mande?
yes, yes, I have.
So she told me something, and I was like, Mande? And she told me, like, why did you say that? And I even thought about it, like, Mande? I don't know. That's what we were taught to say, Mande, Mande usted. You know what that means, right? Like, order me. Like, we
Yeah,
don't use that in Spain. And I was like, oh, like, I never understood that. So even in our language, we have this thing where we're used to taking orders and being the workers, if that makes sense.
definitely, definitely.
So I
We
feel,
Go ahead.
yeah, go ahead.
No, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I feel like we're one, not I mean in different ways or another, it's our old religious programs too. It's the worker mentality. And then another one, I feel like we buy into the when people come from other countries, um, it's a cultural thing because if a Persian person comes from another country, they want to start a business. Jewish person, they want to start a business.
Yeah,
Latinos, they just want to get into a job and work hard. I feel they have a great work ethic, but if they have the right vehicles, they can take off.
definitely. That's exactly what why I started this whole channel, because I noticed, come on, if we add like our work ethic and the way that we're relentless and we refuse
Hmm.
to give up, which is a positive that we have in our community, and we add it with the
Hmm.
actual, we bridge the gap between being a worker for somebody and being the owner of something, and learning how to
Exactly.
become the owner of our own future and our stability, we can be huge. And like I mentioned before, I have received some pushback from certain groups of people that
Hmm.
it's not a coincidence, but they're
Hmm.
fixated. And one of the biggest religions that Latinos, our community, follows, which is Catholicism.
Hmm.
And they keep dragging this thing about like, oh, like, money cannot be your god, and this and that. And I'm like, unfortunately, the world does not move or function in
Yeah.
our specific religions. It's in a currency, and unfortunately we have to go after it if we want to give our future generations some stability.
Hmm.
And I wanted to ask you specifically on that matter,
Hmm.
why you think this groups of people, grip so hard onto these beliefs, instead of just saying, hey, let me try something new. It's like I can't seem to understand why it is so hard for them to take the risk.
Well, I feel one of the big reasons is because a lot of their people in their circle aren't taking those risks. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I feel like that's one of them. Yeah, like a lot of people, they want to, the majority of people psychologically, they want to be good, they want to fit into their circle. So when they try something out of the circle, sometimes everyone else will shut them down. Why are you doing that? You're gonna fail. So even if that person tries it and they fail once or twice, they give up and they go back to their circle. Does that make
definitely.
sense?
Yeah, that makes
So I
perfect
feel
sense.
like that's why, like, even when you work with me, that's why I do the pedestal process that I have. on even people's friends, their family. Why? Because once you break away from those circles, you could think for yourself. You could open up your mind to certain things. Um, but I feel like, yeah, I feel that's one of the reasons. And it's also a values thing. We have values culturally, we have values in our family circle. So if building wealth is not in our values, it's never going to happen. If starting business it's not in our values, it's never going to happen. I feel like through the media, through movies, through songs, they've brainwashed us to think that valuing consumerism is valuing wealth, but that's not valuing wealth. Valuing wealth, I'll give you the five, six principles that my mentor gave me, a human behavior specialist, and he tells us to value wealth, you need to value saving money, you need to value investing money, you need to value starting a business that serves many people, he said millions. You
Yeah.
need to value creating causes that last beyond your life, and he tells us make goals that are beyond your life. You need to value managing money and business wisely, and you need to value the last one is creating a vast fortune. And sometimes people ask me, why do we have to value creating a vast fortune? I'm like, because when you concentrate on that, you're going to realize that it's not about the money, it's about service. um, One of the he makes us do lists for each one of those, and one of some of the stuff I have on creating a vast fortune is creating a money school for Latinos. That's one
Yeah.
thing that I want to do in the future. So yeah, so that's why that's why I feel like it's important for people to start to value money. I feel one of the things, not only for Latinos, I feel for all minorities and even some Americans in general, through the media, they've brainwashed us not to value money. Even through the old religions, they brainwashed us not to value money. But my own little theory, if I separate, like I'm gonna separate human behavior, my own little theory is they brainwashed us throughout the years to not value money because they know that if Latinos, African Americans, every group starts valuing money highly, they're gonna start making it. And if they start making it, they're gonna put more power into politics, into media, and they don't want that. They want to control all that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And I agree with you 100% because something that you even share with me is that whoever holds the gold makes the rules.
Oh, there's
Um,
the old
yeah, you
Zionist
told me
rule.
that.
The golden rule. They call it the golden rule. Whoever controls the gold makes the rules. So there's a millionaire who they asked him, who controls everything? He's like, look, I'm not gonna say nothing, but just follow the money.
Yeah.
Whoever controls the gold makes the rules. And I'll give you a perfect example of this. Right now in Mexico, the cartels are making more of the money now, and they're putting money into politics. They're controlling politics in a way.
Yeah,
Whoever can makes the money makes they control the rules. They make the rules, and
definitely.
so I feel that's why I go back to yeah they're brainwashing us with movies, even the news. Like rich people aren't happy. Why do you want to be rich? The poor. Robin Hood. Well, this goes way back to like old England, Robin Hood stories. In India, the caste system, they don't want you to value money. Why? Because if your group of people start making money, you gain power.
Yeah. Yeah. And people often, I think that's part of human nature. um Once you get like a taste of power, you don't want to share it. you know because if
Hmm.
we make everybody just as powerful, then nobody is just super mighty powerful. So
Hmm.
like I said, it's something that I wish, not only our community, even though I focus mostly in our community, but any community for that matter, will
Hmm.
understand that that we have to somehow start getting first our mind right.
Yeah.
Because the way I explain it here, even though I'm not even close to being a professional in mental health,
Hmm.
um the way you see things from like my personal experience, when you have
Mhm.
not organized your mind, is as if, let's say for example, life and the path that you have to go is like a regular mirror, right? But when you go through all these things that kind of distort the image of it, it's like if, as
Mhm.
if you throw like a glass of water at that mirror, it gets, the
Mhm.
image gets all over the place. And I'm like, how can we walk safely knowing what we're walking into and being able to handle it and actually get to a destination if we can clearly see where we're going?
Mhm.
So that's one of the reasons why I started my therapy journey and my mental health journey, because I wanted to maximize the strength of my emotions to be able to endure and see
Mhm.
more clearly how things, are supposed to go and where I can take myself.
Mhm.
And I wanted to ask you something because I spoke on Monday about a topic that I came across, which is immigration depression. And I wanted to ask you, what's your take on it? Because from what we researched on Monday, it's basically telling people that immigration depression has three different aspects, and that is before the immigration, during the immigration process, and after. And different things happen because you have to actually go through like this harsh times, either poverty, violence, an abusive government or whatnot, to actually determine, hey, I have to go somewhere else. And that's already some trauma and stress. And then you have the trauma and the stress of things that can happen to you during that journey to a different country. And then when you
Mhm.
land there, there's many things that you have to adapt and become more like, for example, when we come here, we have to blend in the Americana. And
Mhm.
sometimes when we come here, not by choice, it's simply because, hey, this is the only place that's near us that can actually give us the opportunity to move forward. So we have to come here and we have to blend in a place where we still have the nostalgia of leaving everything back home, and we went through all of this process.
Mhm.
And when you land here, you don't realize it, but you have all that baggage. And
Mhm.
what's your take on this, and what would you recommend people that are coming into this country and feel kind of like unwell to a degree?
Mhm. My parents came from another country, so I'll give you a few examples. But I feel on immigration depression, I I mean the point that these people chose to come to another country, knowing the risks of what could happen in a way, they're already, how can I word it? They're already action takers, go-getters. Before before this podcast, somebody sent me a video of some guys that just got off a train here in LA. And the guys that were filming, they were filming their car. They were taking pictures of their cars, and they look, and these guys get off the train. I'm like, where are you guys coming from? And they're like, Honduras, and they were all like happy. But what I'm saying by this is, I feel a lot of people, a lot of immigrants, even though they have a lot of baggage, they come with this optimism that I feel a lot of Americans don't have anymore. They come with baggage. Everyone comes with baggage. Everyone has baggage. But I just feel like they come with this go-getter. They put themselves in a position where they have to do something. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
So
And also, if you think about it, sorry to cut you off,
yeah.
but I love that that point that you brought up, and to piggyback from it, the fact, and it's something that I wish I would have known when I came here in 2013, you know, to highlight that aspect instead of thinking, hey, why I feel like this and not understanding. Um, if you think about it, you know it is true, because there's a lot of people, even though in Puerto Rico we don't go through the whole process of not having legal documentation to enter the country.
Hmm.
um we still come here and go through other things, but we have that benefit that many of our people do not have. So even though we had to come here because of the gentrification that's happening in Puerto Rico and a lot of stuff,
Hmm.
some people in Puerto Rico were like more, oh, like the ones that are living, they're traders and this and that, but then they live a life
Hmm.
of constantly complaining.
Hmm.
And it's something that my grandpa used to say, and I take it with me everywhere. The same hot water that softens a potato hardens an egg. And
Hmm.
if you think about it, the same circumstances with our people in our different countries in Latin America make people break down, but only make the strong leave and look for other options.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
I love that you brought up that point. I'm gonna let you continue. I'm not gonna cut you off.
Yeah, and even you as an example, you came from somewhere else and you have that go-getter energy. You have that structure. I know who you are. Um, and that's exactly my point. I'll give you an example with my parents. They came from another country, and I'm gonna tap into a psychological principle. Um, I would ask my parents, "Hey, did you guys ever feel anxiety or depression?" I remember my mom told me once, maybe I did, but I didn't have time to think about that. Like, what is that? Like she even kind of like talk crap to me. But that's how strong these people were. Because look, here's the psychological principle. When the human mind is not perceiving production or contribution, it's a matter of time before it goes into self-sabotage. So nowadays, I feel like the younger generation has more time to think, more time to do nothing. And it's a matter of time before your positive thinking turns into negative thinking. And I get a lot of people that when they have depression or anxiety, I'm like, what do you do the whole day? Well, I'm just hanging out at home. I'm like, what's the matter? If you're not contributing or producing, when the human mind doesn't perceive production, you're going to go into self-sabotage. And a lot of them, I have to help them meet up the reality with certain processes. Um, but yeah, I even get sometimes stay-at-home moms or housewives that they come in depressed, but their human mind is not perceiving production or contribution. So I get why people get depressed. Um, so what I'm saying by that is I get why my mom, that's what I was trying to say. I get why my mom was saying, well, I don't have time to think about that because they were always producing and contributing to their family, to society, whatever it is. Makes sense?
Yeah.
Um, so I know people who came from other countries. Half of them are not even half of them. A lot of them are good. I know this guy that he started real estate without papers, using someone else's license, and he was making over 100 figures.
Wow.
Um, yeah, and after the years he got his license, and even to this day he makes like 250,000. I have a friend that I interviewed in my podcast, Maria. She's a real estate agent in Downey. She makes over I don't I she might be in the $1 million mark now, and she used to clean houses in the little mansions in Downey. And one of her clients got her into real estate, and she switched that hustle energy to real estate, and she took off.
Wow.
By her, I think she told me by her fourth or fifth year, she was already making 400,000 a year, and she's an investor too. So after all the years she started invest, she started in like 95, 96. Now I'm pretty sure she's over the $1 million mark. So there's people like that, and then there's the other side. I have some family members that some of them are they get depressed. Oh, I don't have papers. I don't have this. I don't have that. And then I see other family members that they don't even care if they have papers. They're hustling. So I just feel like the immigrants have a more hustler mentality than the younger Americans right now. I
Yeah.
just feel like the I had a little debate with this activist girl. She has her BA. She's she's been to the top schools, has a BA. At the time she wasn't working, and she would go to these protests, all the government this they need to give us. And I'm like, look, right now, the way I see you, the way I see the immigrants, I get inspired by the paisanos. I get inspired by the immigrants.
Yeah.
more than you. They're too busy working to go do what you do right now. They're hustling. My aunt, off minimum wage, both her and her husband, they bought a house. How can they buy a house? They super manage their money wisely. How
Yeah.
can they buy a house and you're over here complaining? It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, and they have the Americanized, our Americanized diasporas, our second and third generation sometimes, you know, they don't they don't see the I would say the, how can I say it,
Opportunity?
the benefits that they have
Mm,
that many of us don't.
mm-hmm,
My story. I came here, I didn't have no family, I didn't even know where Walgreens was at. you
mm-hmm,
know I'm like, I wish I would have been here when I was growing up, so I would, be more knowledgeable about stuff, so I knew I have
mm-hmm,
to work twice as hard because I had to catch up with people in my generation. And
mm-hmm,
that's when I start becoming aware, hey, there's two types of millennials right now in the workforce: the one that actually wants to stay at an employee minimum wage level and
mm-hmm,
just talks crap all day, and the ones that are saying, hey, I want to be more, so much more. And that's
mm-hmm,
what I started surrounding myself with.
mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
definitely, I would say, yeah, that mindset that we have, and the Latino strength that we have,
Mm-hmm,
has been a little bit forgotten by our second and third generations here in our diasporas, unfortunately.
mm-hmm.
And I wanted to ask you, if you were to give your professional opinion on it, um, why have we lost that? And as we keep having generations from our families here in the United States, do you think it's by association, or we get lost? Like, where the disconnect, in your opinion, happens?
Well, there's a psychologist, that psychologist from Canada, Jordan Peterson. He says that when immigrants come, the immigrants that come are super productive. They get things done, but as the generations go down, their kids, their grandkids, they get weaker. Why? Because everything was easier for them. And it's the statistic that by the third, fourth generation down, they get weaker even to the point. And I'll give you a perfect example of this. There's this new thing now. Rich people, rich people's kids have become drug addicts. They have become so much stuff has happened to them that why? Because they've been over supported, over enabled. So there's this new thing now where rich people are telling their kids, "We're not going to give you nothing." And because they get so comfortable mentally that they feel they don't have to work for nothing, but they get depressed and they even get mental disorders and they get all kinds of stuff because they feel like it's like it's the principle that I told you. When there's no production or contribution, you just feel like you're done. And that's one thing that I ask a lot of like drug addicts that come when I get a drug addict client. I'm like, they think I'm gonna ask them about their wounds, but sometimes I ask them, have you ever been over supported, over enabled, spoiled? Your parents told you yes too much, never no. And a lot of them get surprised and they're like, you know what? Yeah, like you're the first therapist who actually see that pattern. And I'm like, yeah, because they created false realities for you. So I feel like as the generations go down, as times get easier, easy times, there's a certain quote, easy times create weak people. Hard times create strong men create easy times, and easy times create weak people.
Wow.
Humans grow through negative situations. Humans grow through challenge. If that's taken away from them, they're gonna they're gonna be weak people. There's two sides to the weak people. They're either gonna break down and get anxiety or even schizophrenia when they face challenge, or they're gonna be angry, entitled people. And you see a lot of that nowadays. People feel entitled that the government should give us this. Whereas the old generations, my parents' generation, it was frowned upon to be on welfare. I remember when I was like 5 or 6 years old, My mom used to do hair when before she started working for her company. She used to do people's hair, perms. This was back in the 80s. She used to do perms for ladies. A lady paid her with back then it was the welfare dollars. I forgot what they had a certain name. I forgot what they were called. She paid her with those dollars, and my dad got home and he got pissed because it was frowned upon to have those dollars as a Latino back
Yeah.
then. Like, hey,
Yeah,
we don't use that.
you're not supposed to. You're not supposed to be on that.
Yeah. Now it's like normal that I've even heard, I've had so many clients that one client told me, like, my family looks at me like I'm stupid because I don't use them. Like, I don't use the free help. And back in our generation, it was frowned upon. Like, I've never thought about using that because that's what my parents instilled in me. Like, hey, you don't use that. Like, you're not weak like that. Save that
Yeah.
for other people, but that's not us. So,
Yeah,
so
because
yeah, that's what
you get
go ahead.
comfortable. You get comfortable to a degree. There's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with asking for help, but like don't get comfortable there. And I feel like this whole welfare needs to shrink a little bit in order
Hmm.
for us to actually move forward, because people need to feel the urgency, the sense of urgency. And also, it's coming out of our tax payer
Hmm.
dollars, let's just face it. Now,
Hmm.
my thing is, when we remove, as welfare has increased, right,
Hmm.
families and marriages have decreased. I don't
Hmm.
know if that makes sense, but like the more we have, because we have so many single mothers out
Hmm.
there right now on welfare, and
Hmm.
basically they have replaced the husband's income and the support for the government help.
Hmm.
So it's costing now the taxpayers so much that we see this everywhere. Tax increases, we get new taxes every
Hmm.
time because the
Hmm.
government cannot supply for all of this influx of people at one
Hmm.
time, getting on the system and staying there as
Hmm.
a career. I've
Hmm.
seen a lot of people that literally have two, three, four kids in order for them to live off of welfare.
Hmm.
And I'm like, that's not being considered with the community, but whatever floats your boat, right? But
Hmm.
I feel like that's the connection that we're not making. Like, as welfare has expanded, especially us, the women, have lost from our eyesight the need for males and a husband in the household.
Hmm.
And that's what has created that crack in like the whole marriage concept and
Hmm.
staying with your partner for a very long time. We have replaced
That's
it
a
now with the government.
that's a good point you make because in Mexico, more people stay together than in the U.S. I don't know how is. It the same in Puerto Rico? What? But I feel why because they don't get that extra money.
Yeah,
They
in
they
Puerto
don't.
Rico, they do. So you can see how there's a nosedive in marriages,
Mm,
and like the divorces are going all the way up because of this. And they keep up, the more they keep bringing these benefits, the more it causes a wedge between the man and the woman.
mm-hmm.
And I have
The
to even heal my own masculinity.
mm-hmm.
So you can see it in the woman, like how we have become more quote unquote independent and strong, and then masculine
Mm-hmm.
to a degree, because we feel like, hey, I don't need men. I have
Mm-hmm.
the government, I have my career, I have my job, I have all these opportunities, men are not needed. And that notion is not true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
there's even
it's not
theories.
sustainable. It's not sustainable. It's not
Mm-hmm.
a sustainable future if we continue down this path.
Yeah, there's a lot of theories that they're saying that there's going to be a new group that's going to just stay single in the future, and I feel like it has to do with that. It has to do with I feel like polarities have been switching. Um, and this goes to another topic. There's a new term coming like that has been being used. Conventional wisdom. There's a lot of conventional wisdom out there that tells people don't put up with anything. Don't, you know what I mean? And then I feel like in a real relationship, you have to compromise, you have to put up with stuff if you want to be in a long-term relationship.
Yeah.
But I feel like everyone with this conventional wisdom of just positivity, people are getting too picky and they're staying at home longer. That's another thing. People are staying attached to their parents for a longer periods of time now. In the 50s, independence was at 18. Right now, this is a statistic by one of my mentors. He's like, along the up, now independence is at like 33, 34. People are moving out of their house.
Yeah. Yeah.
So people, I told this one girl once because she was so attached to her parents and her family that I was like, she's like, why can't I attract a relationship? And I'm like, well, you don't need to. You're already getting love, support, and affection from your parents, your sister, your family. So there's no need for you to attract someone because there's a principle that says everything is always present. It's just in a different form. So I told her like, there's no need to. You already have everything that you want from a relationship. There's even a little new theory in the psychology world about um, Instagram personalities, the Instagram models. A lot of them are single. Why? Because they're already getting all the love and affection from their thousands, some of them millions of followers. So why are they gonna need love and affection? If something goes wrong over there, they'll just go back to their followers.
Yeah. And
And it's
also
like a mental
I
cushion.
yeah, now that you mentioned that, I heard something about a while ago how
Mhm,
the social media has affected human psyche and the need for likes. Like every time you get like high likes on something,
mhm.
it increases your levels of dopamine to a degree.
It
And
does.
I was like, wow, this is crazy. And we don't know enough yet to actually know long-term repercussions of that,
Hmm.
but yeah, definitely, it's what you're saying. It's like we're seeing how this is wrecking society. There's so many
Yeah.
elements that are changing how society used to behave, and that's
Hmm.
why we have to bring more awareness to reach out to professionals like yourself to actually get our mindset right.
Yeah, and I've
And
seen so. Oh, go ahead.
no, no, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I see so many clients that they find it easier on a Friday night instead of going out to see their friends. They find it easier to stay home and swipe through social media, but it's artificial. And in the long run, they feel depressed or lonely. And I tell them like it, a phone cannot replace a human. Like you need to go get human interaction. Um, so yeah, I feel like there's a lot of it's affecting in so many ways, and I mean, by now I feel like we're all guilty of it to a certain degree.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
but again, I go back to it. If you're living your, how do I not stay on social media for so long? If you're living your purpose, you're not gonna have you're not gonna be on it too much because you're busy in a way.
Yeah.
I sometimes go through 3 or 4 clients and then I check my phone. I have all this missed stuff. But what I'm saying is, if you're busy and producing, you're not gonna feel as down if you don't have likes on social media. Makes sense? I'd rather
Yeah.
get paid than get likes.
Yeah, then get this meltdowns. Oh my God, nobody liked my picture. Who cares?
Yeah,
You're bowling.
yeah.
So,
So,
I wanted to ask you something to start wrapping this up, because I know you're
mhm.
really busy. Um, when for the people that are watching us right now and that are gonna also catch us on the replay, um what can people expect? Because I feel that a lot of people kind of freak out or start having like anxiety episodes about going to therapy and how it's going to be. What people can actually expect when they go to therapy for the first time?
I mean, this depends. I feel like do your research on searching for the right therapist. Do your research on searching for whoever you're gonna look for help from. Look at the review. I really feel this now. Like, look at the reviews because a lot of people, a lot of my clients have had bad experiences with their therapists. So they're like, I found you through your reviews, and they were true in a way. But what I'm saying is, you might have to go through one or two therapists. So just be, first of all, be open to go to therapy. And second of all, once you're open, just know that the first one you go to might not be the one. Find one that you click with and be okay with that. Wow, you know what? I didn't click with this one. Maybe I have to go to another one. Um, I feel like the good ones are away from insurance.
And yeah,
um,
trust me, because that's how I found you. Because the
be,
insurance ones, oh my God. Hey, we will be
yeah,
here the whole day talking about that.
the insurance ones, you're just a number. Part of it is not even their fault. They have to see you for 45 minutes and they're looking at the clock. They just have to push it because they're seeing like 8 clients a day, maybe who knows how many. Um, but if you find one with a private practice, that they work more on their terms and they might have a little bit more flexibility. Even that's why I said when people ask me what's the difference, well, like why are you transitioning to life coach? You know, because I'm more free and I could do what I want to really do. And I help people in under 5 or 10 sessions. So with me, it's not something you're gonna do for like a whole year, your whole life. Um, I feel like the way I work now, it's pretty quick, and you could even ask Denise
Yeah.
by the. I think you told me you noticed something after the first session, right?
Yeah, the first session, I was a whole different person. I keep telling people when I join not only my live streams, but other people's in this community that we have formed here of Latinos, um, that I'm a reformed feminist because I went to therapy and it did not even took so long. It was just a few sessions with you and like, how putting things in perspective and shifting my mentality to actually see reality for what it is.
Mhm. You want me to
So
talk a little bit about that?
yeah, go ahead.
So, not about your session, but just in general, because I see this is the biggest pattern I see with couples. So when I see couples, I don't see them as man or woman. I see them, I want to see who the masculine one is and who the feminine one is. Because that can tell me so much when I figure that out. That can tell me who's dominant. That can tell me who's more submissive. That can tell me who bottles things in. That could tell me who's the structured one. And to some extremes, that could tell me who's the sneaky and the cheater. So it has nothing to do with men are the cheaters, women are the cheaters. I want to see who's masculine and who's feminine, and if they're in the unhealthy masculine or the healthy masculine, or if they're in the unhealthy feminine or the healthy feminine. So there's a healthy side of each and an unhealthy side of each. So I'm just gauging people, and I ask a lot of questions because there's a lot of what I see a lot of right now is that the polarities are switched. So what I mean by the polarities are switched, there's more couples coming in where the woman is masculine and the man is feminine. And I feel like it's something that the woman felt she wanted, but in the long run, it's not sustainable to the point where they're tired of these guys. Some of these women even tell me, man, I've been cheating on him. I'm just tired of him, but it's hard for me to let him go. And I have to help them switch those polarities back. Because one thing I tell these women is, look, yes, your guy is too soft. You're gonna have to bring him in because sometimes they come in alone, and I tell them you're gonna have to bring your guy, and she's like, why? Because he's too soft. I have to help him turn his fire up, but it's not just him. I have to help you calm down your fire. You have your guard up because something happened in the past, and we're gonna figure that out today. But you have to bring that guard down because when you have to lead, you'll get frustrated, you'll get depression. There's even this new term I came up with. You'll get control anxiety because regular anxiety is like a panic attack, fear. It's more fear based. But when women get control anxiety, it's this anxiety mixed with anger because she has to lead, and the other part of it is because of her old wound. There was something happened in her life where she felt I have to control everything now because of what happened to me in my past, but it's running her life in a way. And sometimes these women are kind of in limbo. They want their man to lead, and when he starts leading, they shut him down. So I have to help her calm her fire down. I have to help him step his fire up. His side, the guy's side, sometimes these guys, either their parents didn't fight a lot, or if they did, they were the kid that would just run away from the fight. They were more they internally vowed as kids, I don't want to be like that douchebag parent, so they softened up. And they started believing in a lot of the movie fantasies and not everything, love songs. And when they get into a relationship, they get stepped on all over. I was one of those guys up until the age of like 21, 22, until I got cheated on by the third time. When I realized, and I was learning human behavior at the time, and I realized, like, man, I was giving with my behaviors, I was giving out prey energy. So I got treated like prey. They chewed
Yeah.
me up. I could blame the
Yeah.
girls, but in reality, it was me. Why? And that was like that. One of my patterns was I saw my dad being a douchebag, so I internally vowed as a kid I'm never gonna be like my dad. So I softened up. I felt sorry for what my mom went through with my dad, so I created a guilt for being firm towards women. Until these three women taught me, if you want to see it in the bigger picture, these women taught me, Tim, you're too soft, so we're doing this so you can be more of a man, you so you can step it up. So I'm thankful that they did that in my early years.
Yeah, yeah, because they it started this whole spark. And look at how many
Yeah,
lives, including my life and the life of my fiance, that you have touched and changed for the best. So I also
yeah,
thank them. I also thank those women.
yeah. Well, and there's such, but yeah, they even played a part in your life. But yeah, so that's what I help people do. I help them switch polarities back to like I help the guy be the masculine one because in a woman's subconscious mind, I always tell women there's like a switch, a security switch. You either feel secure with this man or you don't. And if he doesn't do certain things, that switch is never gonna go on. And you can even get depressed because you're like, wow, I have to lead. If I have kids with him, he's not going to be able to take over. So you keep leading, and and it can cause depression, anxiety, anger outbursts. So yeah, it's something that I see almost and most couples that come in here. And
Yeah,
it's funny
and
that a lot of these.
also I've noticed there's a lot of dudes lately that are so emotional. They get triggered by the most little things that you can
Mhm,
say to them. You cannot even joke with these guys now, because they're so sensitive to everything that they go into this they flip out, and then they don't let it go. They keep on flipping out and flipping out and flipping out, and they get obsessed into this flipping out thing.
mhm,
And even my friend that's here, Christina, she has
mhm.
experienced this herself in the past few days. When you have this extremely feminine dudes that are so sensitive to this kind of words, and I'm like, where did the men went? The last time I checked,
Yeah.
men are not this sensitive. This is not normal.
So so why are men like this now? I mean, a part of it is because, like, even when I was a feminine guy, I wasn't as feminine as the guys now. Because one, I feel society is getting softer. So the softer society gets, the more emotional the more the emotional disorders rise. So the softer society gets, the higher the mental disorders. So a lot of these boys, men have been sheltered. Here's one thing that is gonna sound weird, and a lot of people are even going to say, like, wow, you're saying this and you're in the mental health field. But in my generation, we weren't friends with our parents. This new generation, they're too friends with their mom, their dad. I'll give you an example. There was this guy, he was what, 23? His girl came in and he kept bringing up, well, my mom says this and my mom says that. And even his girlfriend was like, yeah, his mom says this. And I was like, your mom has a say in your relationship? And I got sarcastic. I was like, out a chair and call her. Like if there's a third person in your relationship, and when I had an alone session with him, I had to tell him like look, I never told my mom stuff unless it was real serious, like if it's a girlfriend that I was gonna been with for a long time. But
Yeah.
I feel like you share. Why is your mom too involved in your relationship? And I'm like, you're lucky your girl's not one of those girls that gets turned off by it because she was like all into it too. But there's other cases where some girls even leave a guy because the guy's too friends with his mom. And but there's a lot of that. There's a lot of what I'm saying is kids are getting less challenged by their parents. So they're a little weaker. My generation, I'm 40 years old. In my generation, even in junior high, 1992, the PE teachers were allowed to get in your face, cuss you out. I remember one PE teacher even smacked me.
And mine, you know
Um,
what mine did? My father and my mom used to give the teacher a yard in Puerto Rico. And
oh
every
yeah.
parent used to give a teacher a yard, and they were supposed to hit you with it if you
Mhm.
acted or flipped out or if you acted in a wrong way. And yeah, many teachers whooped me. Many, many, many.
My oldest sister got a glimpse of the end of that. Even here in the US, they would like smack you with a ruler on the hand. But yeah, that doesn't exist anymore. What I'm saying is there's less challenge. There's more. And here's another one. Few people got mad at me. I did a post that attached moms feminize their boys. Attached moms make their kids more feminine. They're boys. And a lot of women got mad, but I'm like, look, it's I see it every day in therapy.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
You have to speak on it because you're
yeah,
repairing the mess, you know.
yeah, and there's a lot of single moms now. They don't want to put up with any guy's stuff, so they get attached to their kid. I even had to tell a mom. So in a way, you married your kid. In a way, he got attached to you, and you're over support. You got a dopamine addiction to you. You're over support, over affection. And in return, as a young kid, he got attached to you, and you got attached to him. I feel like I had to tell her, since you created this, you have to start breaking that chain. You have to not be attached to him. You have to push him away. I'm like, have you dated? No, my son is everything. I'm like, exactly, that's the problem.
Definitely.
So I feel like the older generations were too busy to get attached to their kids. And I feel right now there's a lot of attachment. But again, it comes from because the older generations went through hard times. They wanted to make it easier for their kids, not knowing that too much of the positive can affect you in a negative way.
Yeah, yeah. We have to hear from our parents the word no also. You know,
Yeah.
that's healthy parenting. When they tell you
Yep.
no, and if you keep asking, you know what's coming.
Yeah.
um, Before we close this down, I want to ask you two more things. And
Go ahead.
one is, how do we become self-aware that we're unwell? Like how do you think that process works for people? And what can people do once they become aware of this, and if they're worried about their mental health? Like those two things are the ones thing I wanna finish with for our interview today.
So you're saying how can we know if we're unwell?
Yeah, how we become aware of that, and if we are aware of it, like, what can people actually do if they're worried about this?
Mhm. Well, how are you aware? One thing is repeating patterns, whether it's in relationships or certain things. If something keeps happening and you're becoming aware of it, I feel one of the biggest things that I guess people become unaware because of the way society is now, but you have to get to a point where you're honest with yourself, where I was telling this to one of my clients the other day. Like you have to turn the fire on yourself and be honest with yourself. Like, you know what? I'm in this situation and this is effed up. Very few people do that, but I feel like you have to get to a point of that, of where you're really honest with yourself. I feel like there's very few people that are really honest with themselves, where they stop blaming the outside. Because in your life, the only common denominator is you. Kind of like what I told you guys with when those three girls cheated on me. I could have blamed it on them, but I chose to take responsibility in a way. So
Accountability
yeah,
for it. That's the
uh,
first step then.
yeah, accountability. So you have to take accountability, responsibility that the only common denominator here is me. You have to be um, honest with yourself in the situation you're in. Because you can, some people are in bad situations, but they'll still keep blaming someone else. Oh, it's them or that, or it's not that bad. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect
So,
sense. Perfect
so
sense.
I feel like you have to really be honest with yourself, and I do this with myself every once in a while, like because I'm always striving to be stronger. I feel like I'm a strong person emotionally, but I still keep striving to be stronger for my family and for for my clients. Because if I can get a little stronger, I can teach that to my clients. So sometimes I get honest with myself. Tim, you're doing this. Be honest with yourself. Or even with money, you had to go to do this and you didn't freaking reach it. Like, be honest that you didn't breach your freaking goal and you didn't do this, and that. So you have to, the best person to get angry at is yourself. I feel like it's super healthy when you turn the anger on yourself because you can do something about it. But if you keep turning the anger or playing the victim, there's no power in the victim. In the victim, you're just blaming other people. It's like swimming on, being in water without knowing how to swim.
Yeah, that's a hard one.
Yeah. So, and what can you do? You can look for a therapist, or even there's like same thing with life coaches. You got to look for the, you got to click the right one. But look for help, or look for someone that's the way you want to be. If you want to keep it that simple, the same way, like let's say you want to be ripped, you go to a ripped guy that's a trainer, and he's gonna guide you. Same thing. Look for someone that is the way you want to be. Um, One of the tips I give people is always question your beliefs, because your current beliefs is what got you in that situation. Um, I have a certain quote. If the truth, if the truth that I believed yesterday, if no, if the truth contradicts beliefs that I had yesterday, then I have to let those beliefs go, because the truth is the truth. So what am I saying by that? See the reality of things. I'm big. That's my hashtag every time I do an Instagram post. Eat up reality. Why? Because the more you see reality, the less you're gonna get triggered by things in the long run. The more you see reality, the more you're gonna be able to do what I told you. You know what? I effed up. I was gonna cuss. I don't know if you cuss in your.
No, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. This is not for kids. Go ahead.
Yeah, I effed up. So now I know what I was doing. Because like I said in the beginning, life prepares us for fantasies, life prepares us for the illusions, but no one prepares us for reality. And that's what I feel I do with my clients. Like I help them eat up reality. This is the reality of things. You can go on with your fantasy, but this is really what happened. And this is what's happening. And if you don't do this, this is what's going to happen. So the more you see reality, the less you get triggered by things. Kind of like even when we were talking about right now about the polarities, the reality is that this soft guy is driving you crazy. You thought that's what you wanted, but the reality is you're getting depressed, you're getting control anxiety, you have to lead. Part of your subconscious is telling you, why do I even need him if I'm leading? So what I'm saying is eat up reality. Find a way to see the reality in things. And be open to question your beliefs. Be open to wow, I believed in this, but maybe this isn't working. I let go of beliefs every once in a while because I'm always looking for truth. To me, truth and reality are like high on my values. You have to be open for truth and reality, and you have to be open to question your beliefs. I don't know if
Definitely.
that answered.
Yeah, that answered it perfectly. And then
Yeah.
speaking of beliefs, I let go of my upbringing, and
Hmm.
the way they put me in this religion. And like I said, I became more spiritual, but I realized, nah, that turn the other cheek. It doesn't seem to me like it's healthy. That
Hmm.
that notion is not healthy, that you're gonna go towards something that's hurting you and expose yourself again without doing anything to like guard yourself from it you know
Hmm.
so before we close out today, I want to thank you, Tim, for allowing me to interview you, and also for coming into my platform to share your wisdom and your knowledge, not only with me but with also the people that are here on my chat. Because trust me, we have so many questions. There's a lot of people that have requested that I bring professional therapists here, and I immediately thought of you.
Hmm.
Before we leave, I've been sharing your contact on the bottom of this video. But if people are not here, even on our state, they can still book with you virtual sessions and stuff like that. Where can they
Yes.
reach you?
So you can reach me at emotionalhealthservices.com. You can also reach me on Instagram, TimDale9, at TimDale9. That's my handle at the moment. Um, or you can call the number that's on the screen. I think you put my number there, right? Five six
Yeah.
two 261 3838. You can call me or even shoot a text at me. I see a lot of clients, so I might not answer that phone number right away. But yeah, you can reach me or even on Facebook, Tim Delgado. If you have any questions, if there's, I'm always having these virtual seminars, so I can keep you updated whether you want a personal session or attend one of these virtual seminars. I'm having one soon next Saturday on the pedestal process, bringing someone down from the pedestal. So that one's going to be pretty interesting.
Yeah, yeah. We started this process too, with myself, and it's necessary. So for everybody that show up today, thank you very much for the support. Team, I'm gonna put you backstage real quick. But everybody, that show up, thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you, Tim, for, like I said again, for coming onto the platform and sharing your wisdom with us. I highly appreciate it. And like I said, it's much needed in our community to actually, reach out to professionals so that we can develop these muscles that we're going to need mentally to endure life. Because one thing that, in my opinion, therapy brings to you is durability. You're not that
Hmm.
easy to crack
Hmm.
when you go to therapy. This is not, we have to let go of the stigmas that this is for crazy people, or that you don't need it, or that you have Jesus
Hmm.
Christ, and you have the Virgin Mary, and you just these things, the same way you will go to a cardiologist if you feel some palpitations. You have to take your brain somewhere. The same way you will go to the gym to actually get that six pack, you have to take your brain to the gym through a therapist,
Hmm.
so that you can be strong enough to endure life. And I can guarantee you it will change your life. So, like I said, don't feel afraid to reach out if you enjoy, Tim Delgado's approach. I can vouch for him. He has helped me a lot. And like I said, if you guys, Melanie and I, my fiance, is saying, to the best therapist, in my opinion, he helped me out a lot. That's Justin.
Yeah.
So
What up,
definitely, yeah.
Justin?
So definitely, like I said, a lot of people, need this today. Our community need this today. And I'm closing this series of the lie Latinos have believed. Don't let nobody tell you what you can and cannot do with the opportunities you have. Don't let nobody tell you that you're not supposed to come to therapy because of whatever reason they make up. And don't let nobody tell you that you cannot do better. We're Latinos, we're strong. We make America great. So I want to leave you guys with that. And I'm going to say that next week I'm going to be a little busy. However, Monday I'm not going to have a live stream, but Thursday I will be back here. So thank you everybody for tuning in. This has been another episode of Latin Explaining with Denise Gonzalez. Have a nice weekend and be safe.